not gross, honey.
Have you ever smelled a
just
teenager?
Changing. Remember that beautiful butterfly we saw in the park last week?
I know you're not telling her a story about a butterfly right now.
Questions?
Gosh, Mom, just go away! Ah!
Yeah, I mean, of course.
That's a preview of the next 10 years.
What? Oh yeah, it's a real mystery why my teenage daughter doesn't have the capacity to listen to me when in a heightened emotional state. Darn teenagers, so incomprehensible. Gosh, this makes me so mad in case you couldn't tell. Because it's so easy to blame teenagers when in reality very often we treat them with a superficiality that borders on bullying. This is like teaching someone how to swim when they're already drowning. Do you think they're able to listen or even process what is being said to them? Proactive emotional education is a thing, guys. By having these conversations beforehand, parents can provide a kind of roadmap, and it doesn't have to be scary or overwhelming. Just multiple small age-appropriate conversations throughout the years that give the child a heads up about the big emotions and confusing phases they'll have to face. In this way, when those changes do hit, the child already has a framework to understand what is happening. Listen, as a teenager, it's hard to wrap your head around the fact that even though you feel your feelings so intensely, you also need to remember that there's a certain type of emotional volatility at play here as well. So when I counsel families, for instance, very often I tell them to establish cues with their teens in order to normalize this volatility as part of their teen experience.
Don't touch the console unless you really need to.
Oh, okay. I mean, for now. This decision right here could represent emotional overwhelm. This can also be a form of detachment, I think. When feelings feel so new and overwhelming, where people might feel it's safer to not feel anything at all, rather than risk being overwhelmed by strong emotions. I use the word overwhelm so much in this sentence.
Big weekend for us. What do you want to do?
Well, we could finally clean out the garage, or actually the stairs.
Whoa. Okay, I know it's a short scene, but boy, there's a lot to say. One of the most common long-term couple misunderstandings that I have found in couple counseling is that they normalize the idea that one partner desires more intimacy than the other. However, very often we only refer to sexual intimacy. It's not like the other doesn't desire for intimacy, but they refer to emotional closeness or intellectual stimulation, and those parts are usually neglected and dismissed, often because it's considered less important. Like in this case, the father's indirect comment about spending the weekend together suggests a desire for a sexual intimacy, while the mother's immediate focus on chores indicates she may be disconnected from it or actively trying to avoid it. And many think that this is due to a simple difference of libido, but in my work with couples, I find that that's not true. In each relationship of any type, really, we find a certain asymmetry of how intimacy and connection are understood, which leads individuals to have different needs inevitably. For instance, in the dynamic between a parent and the child might see intimacy and closeness as having the parent's attention 24/7. While for the parent, intimacy and closeness can be understood as their child being obedient. Or with friends, one might see intimacy as sharing deep personal conversations, while the other might see it as sharing quality time in silence. That's what compatibility really is, the ability to understand each other's preferred ways of giving and receiving affection and respect them consistently. However, in a romantic relationship, very often physical needs are seen as more important or urgent or even more serious, when in reality they're just as important and serious as the emotional and intellectual ones. And in each relationship, when someone doesn't receive what they give, they'll eventually stop giving altogether, which is probably what is happening to Riley's mom.
And Val Ortiz is the captain now.
This Valentine.
Do we have a little bit of a girl crush?
She made the Lolly Firehawks.
Or not?
What was I don't like this. What?
You're paranoid.
I never miss a look. Enhanced 224, 176.
Wow, this is some professional stuff though. I'm impressed.
Right there.
Officially.
It's much more than
You let him know, girl.
Looks the same to me.
Overland.
Because you're not looking close
See?
enough.
Riley then, Riley now, Riley then, Riley.
Clear difference.
She knows we're hiding something.
Ooh, so there is something to be hidden. The tea. The tea. He just spilled the tea.
Isn't gonna be our coach next year.
Why, I'm incredibly excited about the depiction of all of this. Wow.
We got assigned to a different high school.
Aha! Oh.
Oh no.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah, it's all good. Like, sounds familiar, by the way. The no big deal. Oh, poor Riley.
Wait to get to the ring.
When did we get
Look at her. I love how if you have children, you can literally observe during their teen years which attachment style is developing based on their experience so far. That's how you can evaluate yourself as a parent, by the way. By now we've seen how Riley's parents are not the greatest with difficult talks or validation. They've given her the role of happy girl since the first moment she opened her eyes, as we've explored in the last movie, and they never truly prepared her beforehand for things like the move or adolescence in such a way that she always has to put twice the effort in to adapt and cope, which can make her feel alone. The thing is, she does have people around her that love her. Therefore, that sense of loneliness will translate in time as abandonment. And that's a recipe for avoidant attachment style, in case you were wondering. In fact, Riley responds to the overwhelming news of her friends moving by detaching, which is what made me wonder in the first place if this could be the development of avoidant attachment in action. Then I remembered, in the first movie, she was unprepared for the move, which triggered her first real ego restructuring, pushing her as far as almost running away from home. That trauma likely taught her that feeling and expressing emotions during major life changes is dangerous. So what does she do now? In an attempt to protect herself, she tries to control herself by verbalizing the "it's not a big deal," mirroring this coolness that many teens display, often acting like nothing affects them, but in reality it's because they're overwhelmed and don't know how to navigate the emotional intensity. Plus, she's mirroring the mentality of her mom of not making a big deal out of things. You see how this works? Now, this doesn't mean she'll have this way of managing things forever, but I find it interesting how the creators of this cartoon made such an amazing job with depicting incipient stages of avoidant behavior and the build-up to it.
Don't forget the deodorant. Mama.
Hi, monkey.
I mean, you did complain about stinking. She's just reminding you of the deodorant, and very well, we are processing the emotion even if later.
It's okay. We need this.
Exactly. So we felt the sadness, and now we're able to move on.
Guys, these are high schoolers.
Whoa,
We do not want to be red for coffee,
intimidating.
do we? We'll have plenty of time to think about this after camp.
Okay.
Now, where did Bree and Grace go?
Oh.
There they are.
Wait, aren't those traitors dead to us?
Our best friends? No.
Oh, did you catch it? That was a great example of cognitive dissonance, which means having two opposing ideas fighting for supremacy in your brain. In this case, she still wants to connect with her friends, but on the other, she's grappling with anger and the unfairness of not being told sooner, and even the way she was told, it was literally spilling the tea, right? Like, it wasn't even a real intentional conversation. So we have the sense of uncertainty because Riley's afraid to make a mistake. Now we add on top of that the uncertainty of the inner conflict about her best friends. So now she's being essentially caught between trying to act like everything is okay and feeling angry that it isn't. Now, very interestingly, she thinks these are the only options because people-pleasing tendencies are familiar to her, as she's used to having the role of happy girl. So acting like everything's okay would make everyone happy, and the other option is to get angry and
Put the
put
foot down.
her foot down. Remember that? But Riley knows how displeasing that is, so she chooses the least destructive choice. I mean, less destructive at a first sight, right?
Oh, hey. Are you okay?
It's her!
I'm Val. I know, you're the varsity captain. You set the all-time goal record as a junior. Your favorite color's red and
Oh,
your
she's such a fan. Guys, she's just being honest.
like me.
But good call.
You're the one Coach told us about. Riley from Michigan, right?
It's Minnesota,
No,
sweetie.
we cannot correct Val Ortiz.
Why not?
Yeah, that's me. Riley from good old Michigan.
And exactly like in the first movie, she's now trying to pretend to be someone that she's not. In the first Inside Out, she had to be the happy girl to satisfy her parents' expectations. Now, instead of being driven by direct parental expectations, she's applying this strategy to the broader social world, like it often happens. The belief that she needs to be someone else to connect with others is a reflection of her insecurity and the pressure she feels to be liked. It's also another sign that she hasn't fully integrated her authentic self with how she presents herself to the world, which is why she's still relying on external roles to gain approval.
Right, who's ready for hockey camp?
I am!
Okay.
I never
so we
played
can figure this
hockey, but
out.
then again.
Nobody touched the